Good evening to our listening and viewing audience. Let me welcome you all to this, our first session of Just the Facts in this format. Because as you know, Just the Facts has been a name and a program on other media methods. But it is the first time that we are in this setting and in this format. Before we start the program, I'm going to ask the Honorable Kyle Hodge to open us with a word of prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Let us pray. Heavenly Father God, we thank you for your goodness. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercies. We just thank you for even allowing us to travel here safely, God. And we thank you for this first Just the Facts program. And we pray that it may enlighten, inform, and educate the people of Anguilla. We thank you, God, for bringing us through 2025, and we thank you for this brand new year, and we pray, dear God, for the people of Anguilla to prosper, those living here and those in the diaspora. We pray for those who are sick and shut in, that you may grant them healing, and we pray for those who have lost loved ones, God, that you may give them comfort in this time of bereavement. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I'm sure that you all who are viewing would see us all here in studio. And for those who are listening, we are no strangers. I am Evans McNiel Rogers, who is hosting the Just the Facts show in this setting. And from time to time, other elected members would do the same, because as government, the ministers would have to travel to various functions and meetings and so on and so forth. And we plan to have a weekly session so that we could inform the people of Anguilla. The only one of the elected members and minister who is not here is Mr. Jose Vanterpool, and there were prior commitments, and he wasn't able to be here this evening with us. But there's no doubt that he will be here as we move forward over the weeks and years ahead of us going forward. The aim of this program basically is to inform the public of the current affairs and what's happening within government. There's no doubt that there are a lot of iterations out there, a lot of propaganda that is taking place. And we believe that the decision makers are the best ones to communicate what is happening within government so that the people of Anguilla will be informed. So in a nutshell, that is basically what we intend to do. It is our responsibility as elected officials and an elected government to be able to communicate with our people. Now, there are a number of forces that are out there who think that as a government we should keep quiet and allow them to chart the pathway or to control the narrative, so to speak. But the electorate in Anguilla, they've placed their faith, trust, their vote and support in this particular administration, and we intend to keep them informed. So this is just not another press conference. This program will take the format of the elected officials coming in from time to time and having the entire time to explain what is happening in their ministries, to have a look and to see exactly what the futuristic possibilities are, to look at the difficulties, the successes, and weigh them to see where we are going. So to have an open conversation, one that I call a conversation with the nation. Because as you know, we go from time to time, the electoral process is there, the campaigning, the platforms, and so on and so forth. We'll have time for all of that. I know that we are mature enough to understand the boundaries of confidentiality and so on and so forth. But we will communicate with the people of Anguilla so that they will be able to understand and relate even to this, what I call it, this program, Just the Facts. Because you will have all sorts of distortions that are out there. And I believe that as decision makers, it is important that we respond to that. And I would just let the public know that we are not auditioning for a journalism position. It is just fair for us to be able to communicate with our people. Yes. Sometimes, there's success and there are hindrances, and sometimes we are the ones the bearers of bad news. But if it is a fact, it is a fact, and that is the reason why we are here with just the facts. And we are here not as doctors or lawyers, but we are here as representatives of the people of Anguilla. And we didn't get here through a beauty contest. We got here through the ballot box. And as a result of that, we are here in a political and administrative capacity. The administration, we will explain the decisions, and the political process must not be underscored because we are politicians, and when called upon to defend ourselves politically, if we have to sit in these chairs, we will do that as well. So I just wanted to get that out there and to continue with the program. Seeing that we have our first female premier, the people in Anguilla, the electorate in general, would have placed a tremendous amount of faith and confidence in the Anguilla United Front. There's no hidden secret that our leader going into the last general election was Ms. Cora May Hodge. As such, the victory at the polls would have indicated that Mrs. Hodge would be the premier of Anguilla. She's created history because she's the first female to assume that position, and I know the electorate has been overwhelmed and ecstatic, I should say, in terms of the performance thus far. But we all know that amidst the glowing celebrations and cheers, that there are difficulties. With that said, I'm going to ask the Premier, in this role, what are the challenges, the successes, and how it has been so far sitting as the first female Premier of the Government of Anguilla?
Thank you. Good evening to you, Neil. Good evening to my fellow members of government, to the listening and viewing public. It is such a pleasure to be here this evening. Before I answer your question, Neil, I just want to give thanks to the Almighty God for allowing us to be here this evening, to be with you and to be with the public as we discuss important issues that affect our country. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the residents and supporters in District Number 2, my cell members, the District 2 constituency as a whole. I want to take this opportunity to thank the people of Anguilla for electing this government to office. Next year makes 1 year that, next month makes 1 year that we would have taken office. And so we appreciate and we love the people of Anguilla, our residents, our voters, and we thank them for giving us this opportunity. I want to thank the members of the public service because over the months that we have been there, we've been able to accomplish significant strides, and we have more to come over the years ahead. And so it is important that we continue to support our public servants, and we are doing that in different ways, and we'll talk about that more as this show goes on. But we thank them for the work that they've done so far to bring us where we are. And I want to thank our PRO team for this lovely setup, for everything that they've done, all of the hard work that they've done so far, because it is through them that we're able to deliver for the people of Anguilla. They're able to see what we're delivering to the people of Anguilla. You would have mentioned, Neil, in terms of so far where we are, etc. And in the first 6 months when we were elected to office, after we were elected to office, we had to take the opportunity to take stock of where we were as a country and where we wanted to go. In November of 2025, we would have passed our first Anguilla United Front budget. The first budget under this administration, which would have highlighted the plans, the vision that we as a party, we as a government have for the people of Anguilla. And that's outlined in our people plan that we would have campaigned on. And I'm happy to say that within 6 months of being elected to office, we've delivered on the largest promise we made to the people of Anguilla, and that was the GST relief. And so today, we now have the GST reform so that the goods and services tax as it existed when we took office no longer exists. What we have is a goods tax and we have a general services tax. And those taxes collectively have provided the necessary ease to the people of Anguilla and to our local businesses in particular, and has allowed us to continue to grow and develop as a nation. And so I am happy to be a part of a team that has not only made promises, but delivering on the promises for the benefit of the people of Anguilla. And it is really, in fact, an administration that is putting people first. I don't know if you want me to say anything else at this point.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of looking ahead, you mentioned that, next month it will be 1 year since we would have assumed office. What are your thoughts? What are you looking forward to, let's say, over the next 4 years, per se?
Well, we, as I mentioned, our people plan would have been our manifesto. What is our contract with the people of Anguilla in terms of what we intend to deliver? This budget, the 2026 budget, represents our immediate aspirations and goals for the year. It is a significant budget, but it includes a number of things. Programs that would have come before us that we are obligated to continue for one reason or the other, but also it represents a focus on our vision. So for instance, in the 2026 budget, we have additional or more funds allocated towards the water infrastructure. In the previous budget, it was about 4 million, if I could remember, and it's now 9 million. Thank you very much. It's now $9 million. So what that says is that the focus of this administration is to deliver reliable water to the people of Anguilla, and that can only be done by addressing the water infrastructure. So that's a clear priority that we have for the year 2026. We also intend to deliver on the airport extension, the runway extension. And again, that is something that is critical. We appreciate the work that the previous administration would have done in terms of the new terminal building. But the important aspect of it is going to come with the extension of the runway. And so the acquisition of lands, the build out of that runway, that is a significant cost that is in the 2026 budget. And so that again, we intend to deliver on. The government buildings, many of us have been displaced for a number of months, either waiting for office space. Oh, Lord have mercy. We'll have to talk to the administration about that. But so a number of us have been displaced. We've had to find locations, offices to house us. And so what it underscores, and some of our departments are working from home. It is not an ideal situation. And so that is a priority for this administration to finally put our people, our public servants in a space that they can call their own. And so the focus of the construction of 2 government buildings is on the agenda for 2026. And so we intend to move forward with that as well. So there's a lot of plans that we have set out, and we need the support of the people of Anguilla. We need the support of our public servants, the support of the governor's office to make it all happen. And so we will continue to move forward. And some of the things I've spoken about are in some of the other members' ministries, and so I'm sure that they'll go into it in more detail. But I just wanted to give you a highlight or overview in terms of what we plan to implement over this year, 2026.
Yeah, and coming from the Minister of Finance, all of us who are here and the general public, would want to take that in, because at the end of the day, you know, it comes down to funding.
Yes,
Thank you very
funding.
much. We'll go on to some of the other members, but I'll come back. I have a few more questions for you.
Sure.
You're the leader of government business. You know,
Sure.
you're in the hot seat.
Before we go on, Neil, let me just say I want to personally thank you for taking up this position as host. You're very comfortable with it. I know you've done it before. You're a seasoned veteran, and so I want to thank you for continuing the program. And this program is important. And while it is that we have the government press conference, because of the limited time, it does not allow us to deal with certain matters more in depth or even address certain issues and concerns, etc. And that's why this forum is important. It's the name, Just the Facts. This forum is intended to provide additional facts and information to the general public that we may not be able to relay during the strict time frames of the press conference. And so I am happy to be here. I'm excited. I think that it's a wonderful opportunity for us to continue to engage with the public and to be transparent in terms of the work that we're doing in government.
Right. Well, Premier, I've been around the block quite a bit. I've been a part of an administration where we didn't even have press conferences. We'll go back to 2005 to 2010. There were no press conferences at all, so to speak. You know, but this communicating with the electorate and the people of Anguilla, you know, at home and abroad, I think we have come of age, and with all the technology that is going around, I think the people need to hear from the elected representatives.
That's
so
correct.
I will continue to do this when available, and I'm sure that all the members would chime in when it's necessary. You mentioned, you know, delivering on two of the major promises, you know, in terms of the GST. As we go forward, we're going to have a sit down in this same room here, that we go straight into GST and look at the pros and cons, and, you know, the challenges and the difficulties, you know, as it relates to not only from a government standpoint and revenue, but the impact on the people, the lives of the people, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of topics that we have to discuss going forward. So thank you very much for that opening the batting, so to speak, on this our first Just the Facts in this particular format. Cardi, Mr. Connor, Honorable, I don't know how to address you formally, you know, but you have been elected by the people in District 7 since 2015. This is your first time as a Minister of Government. 2015 to 2020, you were the Parliamentary Secretary with responsibility for tourism and sports. 2020 to 2025, you were a member of the opposition. And in 2025, you were elected again by the people in District 7, and now you're a Minister of Government. I want to ask a similar question, the same question basically, that I asked the Honorable Premier. So far, what is your experience? How it's been going for you in the capacity of a minister responsible for several portfolios?
Well, thanks for the question. Again, I want to thank my constituents of District 7, but on the whole, it's not just District 7. I think the people of Anguilla, and I often talk about AUF family. I think that support, you need that on a daily basis. I found that the easiest period was actually 2015 to 2020, because although I was given the responsibility for tourism, Victor Banks, Honorable Victor Banks was the premier, and also with sports, I worked very closely with you, so I didn't have to make those major decisions. But again, what I would say is the support that I got back then really has helped me to where I am today. I must say that 2020 to 2025 was a challenge. I thought, as a government, the challenges we face with, you know, the Hurricane Irma, with COVID, the banking challenges and decisions that we have to make, I thought we did well, and we did do well. It's just that, I suppose, getting the messaging out there that's why I think it's important for us to, as you mentioned, to communicate as much as possible with the people. 2025 it was very difficult. It was a challenge for me, you know. But the key was that going into 2025, we were going to make sure that we did what was best for our people. I often talk about the gentleman sitting next to me, the Honorable Kyle Hodge. I think that one of the moves that he made said a lot for us. It said a lot for him as a person and as a representative. I always had the greatest of confidence in our Premier. I worked very closely with her, leading not just in 2015, but leading up to the election. But again, I think she's got even better than I expected, to be quite honest. I think she's able to, and it's a reflection as well of a team. The lady sitting next to me, I think with her experience as a civil servant, that is Shirley Rogers Webster, over the years I find has been very helpful for, I think, all of us in government today. For me, and I was honored that the Premier gave me portfolios as a minister. The one with health sounded attractive initially, but I'm very pleased. You know, the Premier talked about you being the host of this program. I'm so grateful that you're the senior advisor in health. And I say that in the sense that I think with tourism and sports, and where Jason is my assistant there as well, I feel covered with that. Of course, you're going to have your challenges, but health is an everyday thing. It's a case of life and death, you know, and having someone who that is being their profession, I think has helped me a great deal. And again, I still put it down to how we support each other as a team. You know, I think that is the greatest asset. And we could talk about the Premier, the role that she plays. The fact is that she is not just the first woman Premier, but one that is well suited for that leadership role. And I'm sure that the opposition will envy the bond that we have and will try to find ways. And this is how it works. They'll say things, they'll find ways. But we're airtight, as they say, as a team. We'll agree to disagree, because the best of families and husband and wives and whoever, we can agree to disagree, but very respectful in the matter. And at the end of the day, when we present to our people, it is very much a united front. So again, I'm in a good place. I'm in a good team. My teammates respect me for the role that I play. My type of politics might be different to others, but again, I think it is important that if you respect people, I think you've got the greatest asset. And one of the reasons why we are elected is because the people of Anguilla felt that we respected them a lot more than the alternative.
Well, thanks for that. Just to go back on a number of things you mentioned, you talk about your politics being different, you know. All of our politics are different. We can't have the same type of politics.
Yeah.
My approach would be, you know, different to yours, would be different to the Premier. And, you know, you mentioned a number of things that the Premier, there was no doubt that the Premier is suited for this role. And as one who been in politics, you know, for quite some time and would have dealt with chief ministers and, you know, premier in the past, you know, well suited. I have to openly admit that I wouldn't have the temperament, the confidence, and the way how she has dealt with it so far. And I too want to thank her for, in her previous role as Minister for Home Affairs and Immigration and so on, with the change to the Constitution that allow my grandkids, you know, to be able to own a piece of this rock and own a passport. I mean, it was, you know, it may seem trivial to some, but it was significant. And again, I guess I should thank you again for making me a rookie.
When?
Because it was through you and the change to the Constitution, the electoral reform that allowed for island-wide candidates. So I became a rookie.
I know why.
I'm a rookie the last time around. So it's a lot of thanks and praises to you, and we, thank God for your leadership and continue to work for the people of Anguilla. And as Cardi said, we're not going to see eye to eye. I mean, that's a normal thing. But at the end of the day, what is paramount for us is the people of Anguilla and doing our best, for them. You don't necessarily have to agree. We can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, what is paramount is that commitment for the people of Anguilla. The next individual that I would want to ask a similar question to is my representative. I'm a resident of District 3, so Mrs. Shelia Webster Rogers, the representative for District 3, was elected in 2022 as a member of the opposition then. Was elected again in 2025 and now a Minister of Government, a new Minister of Government. So, as Cardi mentioned, that of course Shelley has a background in being a civil servant and so on and so forth. And I would hope that that experience would allow the minister to be able to be much more tolerable to some of the things that takes place from civil service standpoint. And by the way, I was a civil servant too, way back in 1978, so that sort of thing. But again, Shelia, I know you would have kudos for the people in District 3, and I would have kudos for them as well. But for them to follow you, support you, even in 2022, when obviously you would have been sitting on the opposition bench, and then again in 2025, and now a minister. What are some of the challenges, some of the successes, and really and truly what you're looking forward to, let's say in the next 4 years, up to 2030. I know that the Ministry of Social Development and Education, it's not one of those sexy portfolios, so to speak, but it is the heart of success. Education and health, is where the pillars are in terms of success moving forward. So what would you want to tell our listening and viewing audience in terms of your experiences 11 months into being a Minister of Government?
Thank you very much, Mr. Rogers. I would like to take this opportunity to say a pleasant good evening to the general public, those listening via Facebook Live and radio. A special good evening to the residents of Valley North. I want to thank them for their continued trust and support along this journey. It's been incredible thus far. I think the first 11 months can be described as a combination of challenging, fulfilling, but also exciting. I'm very hopeful for the road ahead. There's quite a lot of work to be done, certainly in my ministries. As you rightfully indicated, Mr. Rogers, my ministry is heavily people-focused. And so it's the ministry where you have a myriad of challenges and complexities. It's also a ministry where sometimes people come to you and approach you when they're at their worst, whether it's social development related, overseas medical treatment related. And so it is a ministry that is quite heavy, and you're constantly working around the clock to respond to the needs and challenges of persons. But I'm certainly up for the challenge, and it has been quite rewarding. From an education perspective, I've been able to do a very good deep dive and overview of some of the challenges at the education level. I'm very grateful that I now have a Principal Assistant Secretary that is going to be exclusively focused on education. This is the first time that we are going to have a Principal Assistant Secretary in my ministry, and I have taken the decision with the support of my PS to have her focus exclusively on education. So what that will allow us to do is look at the 4 tiers of education generally. So that would be pre-primary, primary, secondary, and tertiary. So we're going to split our work up in those 4 areas, and we're going to create strategies for all of the four areas. As you know, we've already started our work in early childhood education. One of the biggest challenges in early childhood education was compensation for the staff. We've been able to increase the monthly compensation for all pre-primary school teachers, which we're very happy about. We've also been able to extend them full scholarship support for any of the preschool teachers who are interested in doing tertiary level studies. In the past, this is something that they had to fund themselves, and of course with salaries very low, it was difficult for them. So I think that has demonstrated our commitment as an administration to ensuring that we invest in our educators, and of course very people focused and people centered in relation to that. Our next step in relation to pre-primary is ensuring that we provide them with additional resources, and so we're going to be working through this year as well to provide additional resources and support. Our end goal as well is to ensure that we have a education officer exclusively responsible for preschool education. Currently we have a education officer that does pre and primary, which is overwhelming because you have 6 primary schools. At the primary level, we are reviewing all of the curriculums. We are currently working with the OECS harmonized curriculum. Some of the teachers have expressed some concerns and some challenges with that, so we're going through a comprehensive review process. We've been piloting that, and so one of the things that's important for us at the ministry level is to ensure that the curriculums are aligned both locally but as well as regionally, to ensure that our students are up to par, but also that our teachers are comfortable with the material that's being taught. They have the tools and resources necessary for success at that level as well. And of course, at the secondary level, one of the challenges that we've had over the years is that we have not had curriculum officers that have been exclusively focused on the secondary level. And so through the budgetary process, we've been able to earmark a few positions that will focus on the curriculums at the secondary level. A review of a number of them. A number of the courses don't have their own curriculums, especially at the earlier years, Form 1, 2, and 3. So these are things that we want to walk through critically as well as we move forward. And of course, tertiary education, as everyone knows, is extremely near and dear to my heart. We are doing some work. We are restructuring the Anguilla Community College. We've changed the board, and I'm working very closely with them to ensure that the organization is fit for purpose, is robust, it can respond to the changing and dynamic needs of of Anguilla's landscape, but not just Anguilla, but regionally and internationally as well. So that's some core work that we're doing. But of course, what's also critically important, Mr. Rogers, is ensuring that we are creating strong relationships with our overseas and international partners. And so with the assistance of my Principal Assistant Secretary, we're embarking on an ambitious journey so that by the end of the year, we have at least 5 MOU agreements with tertiary level institutions, whether in the US, the UK, or in the region, that can assist us with matriculating our students much easier from our school systems into their school systems. So we're working with a number of admissions programs. Thus far, we have 2 so far that we are in negotiations with, and we are hoping to be able to wrap up 1 MOU agreement by early March. So again, we're working very quickly to ensure that we can respond to those needs. From a budgetary level, we have earmarked the highest level of funding of our scholarships that we've ever had, over 6 million EC dollars, and that is going to continue to grow. But we also recognize, Mr. Rogers, that allotting funding to tertiary level education is not enough. We need to ensure that the current systems that are in place that award scholarships are robust, they're fit for purpose, but they're also keen on ensuring that Anguillans take advantage of every opportunity that's available to them. So we're working very closely with public administration and the DG to ensure that the process of scholarship applications is reviewed and restructured to ensure that there is much more visibility, and that every single year all of the funds allotted for scholarships are used, and we are at the end of the budgetary period trying to ask for more funding. That is our desire. I'll shift from an education focus now to the Festivals Commission. We were able to successfully pass the Festivals Commission legislation the first time in the history of the island, which is pretty historic for the Anguillan Infant Administration. So I think that is definitely something that we should be quite proud of. We've been able to appoint the commissioners to the commission, and the commission is in the process of appointing a CEO. The application process is ongoing and should end in early February. We expect that once the CEO is in place, they will rapidly move to fill the other positions. And I think that is something that is critically important for us. We as an administration recognize the importance of the orange economy and the creative industries, and not just in terms of cultural preservation, but as a key economic driver. And so in order for us to maximize our return from the investments that we already make, we needed to ensure that we had a statutory body apparatus to be able to respond to the changing needs of those of that industry. So I want to thank my colleagues for the support, one, to push the legislation through, but also to ensure that we had the budgetary support and funding to get us started and get us on the go as well. So I think those are two key areas where we've had quite a bit of success in. From the probation and the social development side, we've been able to work very keenly on ensuring that we secure funding to digitize a lot of the processes associated with social development and social protection. One of the key things that we are interested in moving forward is ensuring that the general public understands how to apply for financial assistance, how to utilize the resources that we have available to us in social development as we progress forward. I think one of the key complaints that we hear is that people don't know enough about how to access the resources. So I intend to work very closely with our teams to be able to respond to that. I also want to announce generally that effective January 2026, my colleague, Mr. Jason Bryan, took over complete ministerial oversight of the Department of Youth and Culture. So he will be working closely with those teams in the community centers as well as the Culture Division to be able to put forward a number of new exciting programs. I want to thank Mr. Bryan for his keen support. Mr. Bryan has a unique perspective in that he comes from being a center manager, and so he understands a lot of the complexities involved in that area, and I think he'll be able to contribute significantly to that as I shift focus more keenly to education in 2026. In addition to that, we at the district level, I've also been able to secure some key sites that are very critically important to community-based initiatives. We were able to secure a piece of property in Stony Ground on the main road next to Welcome Chinese, which will serve as a community center. We were also able to secure property in Northside opposite Mr. Eric Reed's home, and that will serve as a community space and recreational ground as well. This is keen and very important for us as well as an administration, because over the years, one of the things that we have been criticized for is not having these physical spaces in the constituency. And so I thought it was important for very early to get out the gate to ensure that we were able to secure these spaces. And funny enough, some of the same people who are advocating for some of these things over the years have been very critical of our acquisition of those properties, which I find very amusing, and it just shows you that you can't take the politics of things too serious. You just have to put your head down and walk as much as possible. You know, as I always say, the people of Valley North would have given me a chance in 2022, knowing that I was going into opposition and I would be limited in what I could deliver. And so now that I have an opportunity to serve in government, it is critically important for me to deliver on some of the things that I would have committed to in 2022. And I'm very grateful for the support of this administration, who sees the value in ensuring that the constituency has a community a community center, because it's one of the few districts that still doesn't, and it's a very, very large district. We have quite a number of community-based needs in that district. So very, very happy to have been able to deliver initially on those things, both at the ministerial level, but also at the district level.
Right.
In terms of challenges, the key challenges have really, Mr. Rogers, been just navigating the confines of the public service, sharing your vision, trying to get persons within the public service to buy into our vision, to see the greater good, and to be able to respond very quickly to the changing needs of the public. Because ultimately, all of us are here to serve the public, and so I think that has been probably one of the biggest challenge. But I'm very, very grateful to the public servants that work in my ministry and my departments for the support that they have provided, particularly my permanent secretary, who has been exceptional in helping me to transition and to support all of the key initiatives that I've progressed thus far.
Okay.
So I think overall the first 11 months have been quite exciting, not without challenges, but I'm very hopeful for the road ahead.
Yeah, there are a number of things that you mentioned. I'll start with the very last one in terms of the working relationship with the permanent secretaries and the civil servants and so on. I think we've got to be able to not only communicate with each other, but to be able to identify why we are here as politicians and why they are there as civil servants, because we are all here to work for the people of Anguilla and not a politician and so on and so forth. Let the politics come to us, but the overall objective would be to improve the quality of life for the Anguillians. You mentioned Head Start, early childhood education. You're going to have to come back so that we could go in detail in terms of education, because as you know, my father told me that education is the only level playing field anywhere in the world, irrespective to your color, race, language, or whatever, there's free education. You talk about tertiary education as well, and we have to make sure with those relationships with institutions outside of Anguilla to be accredited for us here, because we were the nomads of the Caribbean to get a tertiary education, and I am one who would advocate, bringing it home. You look into that. You mentioned scholarships, again, through education, and when we have a open discussion, a one-on-one, and one of our programs going forward, we've got to talk about not only the selection process with the 6 million, but it has to be open for all Anguillians, not just the civil servants alone. It has to be. We've got to go into the hospitality industry and all those sort of things. And getting on a little further, you didn't mention, but I know it's part of your myth, the technical training skills. We've got to boost them up and move forward on. So again, it's a lot of work, a lot of heavy lifting, and so on and so forth. I'm pleased to know that the youngest member of the team will be responsible now for the youth. So I thought that was very appropriate, rather than put it the senior citizen to be in charge or to spearhead that program. So that was pretty good. And thank you for that. And I say there are lots of stuff there that we will sit, God spare life in this room here and have in-depth discussions concerning education and moving forward and so on. Yeah, there's been criticisms about our school system for years and years. We are products of it, and worldwide. I mean, we've done very well wherever we would have gone, and so on and so forth. So, increasing the numbers in terms of performances overseas and so on and so forth is extremely important. The next member of the team, of course, is not a minister, but as you would have heard just now, the minister would have given him the responsibility to take care of the youth. Is Jason Bryan. Jason, first time getting involved in politics. I know there were certain unknowns and expectations and doubts coming in and so on and so forth. That is gone, and you have created history as well. Just like we have the first female premier, you have created history as well. The first Hispanic to have ever been elected in Anguilla. Over the years and over generations and over people, think about folks from the Dominican Republic and the Hispanics and so on. I am closely related to the Dominican Republic. My great-grandfather's remains is in Macorís, it's San Pablo, Macorís. I mean, I can hardly speak English, so you'd have to tell me how that is. So for me, it's virtually, and for Anguillians in general, because I'm sure that, I think it was David Carter, someone wrote a book about nothing baffled with the boat race and stuff like that. Actually, came from there. My father was there, cut cane. The late great Albert Lake and a number of Anguillians went down there, in order to be able to cut cane and so on and so forth. So first of all, the politics, the campaigning, and then how it has been in the last 11 months, as part of this government.
Well, good evening to all the listeners that have tuned into this program. Well, existing program, but this first episode where Mr. Rogers, you're the host now, and all elected members are sitting here. And obviously, while we advance, I know different members will be coming on and sitting here with you. The road during the campaign, it was a huge challenge. As you said, it was the first time that someone that will be representing two communities, but not any two communities, So it's like the Dominicanos community. Very rare you would have heard that a Dominicano would have had interest in the politics in Anguilla. And I was bold enough to take this step forward. But I also have to put on record my appreciation or gratitude to our premier, because she was the lady that actually amended the Constitution in 2019 that now gave me the ability to become a candidate. So I'm very thankful for that. And we know her as our leader. We know what she's capable of, and that's why we trusted her as our leader and the general public of Anguilla. But I had to go through the path of getting myself known, which was a very difficult task, because as I said prior, was not only getting known, obviously, in the English community, but also part of the Dominicana community. Because yes, even though I represented that community, I wouldn't say that I was widely known. So there was a challenge of both sides, and then besides just being known, also being accepted as the candidate, as an island-wide candidate. So it was a real hassle. And then you also had the doubt that members were putting out in the general public that I couldn't be a candidate. So it was a process of trying to be, working hard to stay sustainable as a candidate, but also clarifying the air when people were putting doubts in people's mind as to why they shouldn't vote for me. But I am very grateful for the general public that gave me the opportunity to sit here as government, part of the government, and also an MP, member of parliament.
Very well said, Jason, and thank you for taking up the challenge with so many unknowns, and being able to come through successfully, and to the entire team for the full support. And I'm sure that nomination day last year, you would have presented the documents that were constitutionally required for you to be a candidate. And I say that in all seriousness because I was taken to court at one point in time, in terms of that. So it's not specific to you alone, but that is how politics go. And we all are here, to support you. We all are here to help, channel your energy and youthful enthusiasm into sports and the young people and so on and so forth. And we know that irrespective of what maybe said out there, that you have this country at heart, and as part and parcel of you bringing up. So we thank you for taking on that responsibility. And I'm sure that in the next 4 years, given the task with respect to what the minister would have assigned you to,
me, yes.
and then being the assistant in sports and so on and so forth, that you're well positioned in order to do that. And you had some time in the hospitality industry as well?
Yes. So from 2019, when I returned back from college, I was working for Cap Juluca as a hostess, which should have been like concierge. So I started off as agent 1 and then started to grow into, I left as an agent 2, which would have been at the front office, receiving the guests and building their itineraries while they're on island, making recommendations. And well, part of my colleagues, I remember we once went to one of our local restaurants and he shared a story of how I promoted his restaurant while I was in the hotel industry to ensure that, you know, the locals also got the success as entrepreneurs in the industry of tourism.
Well, you're going to have another challenge that I'm going to assign to you. You know, one of the few things that I have regretted in my life is that I didn't go to any of the Spanish classes in high school, and I didn't learn Spanish. But at that time, you know, it was Spanish or chemistry. And, you know, I was into the sciences. But with the exception of the premier, you probably will have to have some tutorial sessions with us.
No, me too. Me too. Me too.
I would have heard you speak quite a bit of Spanish going forward. But thank you very much for taking up the challenge, and we look forward to you growing from strength to strength politically and administratively, you know, and helping the people and the young folks of Anguilla. Our next elected member, he is the representative for the largest constituency in Anguilla. That is District 4. And he has some big shoes to fill as the AUF representative in that area, now replacing the Honorable Victor Franklin Banks, you know, an icon really in the political arena. You know, so we know the present representative as the vibes, you know, so I will ask him, you know, similar question, you know, you're a businessman. I didn't see the political side of you. I don't know who would be responsible for that. You don't have to mention it here now, but somebody did, and, and it turned out to be a blessing. It turned out to be successful at your first go at it. And I know that you will grow from strength to strength. There will be challenges, difficulties, sometimes frustration, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you know, it's all for the good of the people of Anguilla. So give us a bit of your thoughts. How has things been, you know, for the last 11 months, you know, surprises, and as the minister said, you know, challenges, some rewarding accomplishments and so on and so forth. Your thoughts.
Good night, and to the listening public and those who are listening by the different medias. I'd like to start off by thanking the people of District 4 for putting the trust in me and allowing me to be their representative. And it's a serious task that they have placed ahead of me, and I'm definitely looking forward to the challenge. And there are a lot of folks who meet me from time to time, Mr. Angeles, who would give me encouraging words, offer me food also. And you know, so it's a lot of work. You know, it's different, it's new for me. A lot of calls, a lot of meetings, and you know, a lot of different stuff going on. But there are a lot of folks who definitely encourage me from time to time, and you know, they say, Senator, we are 110% behind you or whatever, you know. So that plays a lot and weighs a lot on me. During the campaign, it was very interesting. I got a call before going to campaign mode. I got a call and I was like, nah, politics ain't for me, you know. So the person told me to think about it, give it some time. So I thought about it. Actually, did some soft walkthroughs, showed the village, canvassed the village and stuff like that. And a lot of people told me, you know, you should. So when the gentleman called me back and I told him, okay, you know, I will do it. And now the rest is history. But I had, it was such an enjoyable time during campaign. I remember me and Kyle, we campaigned a lot, and Jason, and just going on homes and the smiles, you know, speaking to people, and it was never really hostile. No one ever ran me out of the yard, you know, so I like, this is so unreal, you know. So it was always like a welcoming state of mind for me, so that was very good, a good sign. So I'm very thankful for the folks in District 4 and for the support and for the confidence that they have placed in me as their representative. Now, you would have said I have big shoes to fill. I would have had a conversation with Mr. Banks prior to, and he said, Cadell, just be yourself. So they're necessary shoes to fill. I'm just going to be myself, you know, and that is what got me here, you know, just being Cadell, and people voted for me for what they know and for what I spoke about, and, you know, the initiatives that we want to do. I'm very thankful for this team, very thankful. It's been a pleasure. I know one time I was speaking with Kyle, and Kyle told me, Cadell, this is like night and day. I won't say to what, but he said this team is like, he said this is like night and day,
you'll have a chance,
you know? And we share a lot of time together, and even Shelley, I'm thankful for her, you know, getting to it new. I always looked up to her and the energy that she had. And remember one time preparing for the first talk show, she called me up and asked me, you want us to do a prep? You want me to walk you through? And I'm like, nah. But then she gave me some pointers as to what I should be expecting, or, you know. And so I'm very thankful for that. And that's the kind of team members that we have that look out for each other and try to be very supportive. I remember one time Shirley couldn't make it to something, and she's like, Vibes, could you go here and fill in for me? So that's how it is, you know. So this team is very well connected. And I always say it's like a well-oiled machine. Something I would like to touch on too, I heard on the radio on a program or something that that there's pressure. And I don't see no pressure. This is just a poised administration that's going to be delivering for the people of Anguilla on the things that we promise and on the initiatives that we want to see. At the end of the day, we all want to see an environment where Anguillians could thrive, Anguillians could sustain themselves and have a comfortable life to live, you know, in Anguilla.
Okay, well, Vibes, you said a lot. I would want to remind you that, you know, the compliments that, you know, you would have gotten, you know, during your first, you know, campaign, you know. During the second one, there will be a lot of criticisms too, you know. But don't take it personal. At the end of the day, you know, you take it all in strides and you move forward. I think it was Omari who sang a song about the glass half full or half empty. Yeah. Look at the glass half full, you know, and keep striving on and keep meeting your eyes on the prize to do to do your best for the people of Anguilla. It's not going to be an easy road. You know, it's going to be difficult times, and that is the reason why the support of all of us is so critical going forward. You know, even though we you know, disagree from time to time, that's going to happen. That's normal, you know. So, and we move on. The last but by no means least, in terms of giving an overview, and I purposely put the Honorable King Kyle
It's a new name.
to be up for the last one. Your story has been told. It's been historic. Your journey has been documented, in terms of your commitment not only to the people of Anguilla, but to the governance, the administrative work. You've been the one who've been described as being committed to a cause and believe in that cause. So you've also been the one who should thank the Honorable Premier for her work in having the seats at large.
Right.
You know, you have moved from strength to strength. And in 2020, the first time it was, we had the seats at large. It was the first time that you participated in the electoral process, even though on the other side of the aisle, you got the most votes in that particular election. And come last year, 2025, you even got more than what you got in the first time. So the trajectory is in the right direction. Tell the people of Anguilla. Vibes mentioned that you spoke about night and day. So you may have to tell the people what you were referring to and so on and so forth. But give us an indication now, you know, listening and viewing public, of what it has been like for the last 11 months, you know, the heavy lifting, you know, the challenges and so on and so forth.
Well, thank you, Honorable. It's a pleasure to be on this program, on this Just the Facts, and to sit in some comfortable couches and speak to the people of Anguilla in this fashion. It's a more relaxed atmosphere. You know, we're not on a press conference, you know, being questioned about a lot of different things. You know, we can gather our thoughts and take our time to just speak honestly and candidly to the people of Anguilla. I've been in politics for going on 6 years now, as you said. I would have contested the 2020 general election as an island-wide candidate. And thank you, Madam Premier, for introducing that system. And I want to thank the people of Anguilla because they would have voted for me overwhelmingly in the election before 2020, and I was the highest vote getter in that election, and I also in this last general election would have been the highest vote getter again. So I want to thank the people from east to west, north to south. They have continued to put their confidence in me, and they would have seen in 2022, when I resigned, it was because of people, putting people first. So even before we came up with the campaign slogan of putting people first in 2025, I would have demonstrated that I put people first. It has been a really interesting journey coming in from 2020, working with one administration that I felt did not respect the people, campaigned on one thing, just blatantly did something else with absolutely no remorse, with no effort to even try to do what was promised. And we would have seen a complete different team this time around when we stuck to our major campaign promise. And we were able to deliver on that by August, getting elected end of February. And what is that, 4, 5 months, 6 months? And, you know, showing the people that, you know, you're putting a team in place in elected office that will be honest with you and that will show you respect that you so deserve. So when I speak about night and day, I'm clearly speaking about the difference in experience that I've had with the previous administration serving for 2 years and then being in opposition for 3 years, and now just, you know, on the heel of having, you know, being in government for 1 year with this new administration. Coming back into the government side of things, because I would have served for 2 years on the government side in 2020, coming back into government this time around, I'm quite content, I'm quite happy with our leadership, with the team in general, how our synergies just work together. We work together so well. It's always something that I look forward to do. You know, waking up, coming to work with such an amazing team. So we support each other as much as we can. Each individual, we have our own battles. We have our own goals in our respective ministries, but we still assist, you know, and I think that speaks volumes for the type of people that we are. The ministry that I'm involved in now is very, very demanding. I would have taken on the challenge of water. And when I came in, water was in shambles. I remember, you know, it was almost like a silent protest where the staff, because of unpaid overtime, unpaid on-call money, unpaid for more than a year before we got here, you know, they weren't respected. You know, they weren't treated with the level of respect that they ought to be treated at. And we, again, put people first. You know, it was about righting the wrongs as it relates to how they were being treated and making sure that they would have gotten what is due to them, you know, their overtime and their on-call money. And, you know, once that was done, the morale in the department would have increased. And, you know, after that, we would have looked at the vacancies that needed to be filled, because you have a team that is short-staffed, overworked, and, you know, needed as much support from the ministerial level as possible, and in order to fill the various vacancies that existed back then. So we brought on board just recently a second engineer to assist the engineer that was working there tirelessly for years. And then we added Romel Hughes, very experienced in the water business, very well respected throughout the region. We even went to the water and wastewater conference, and I would have seen firsthand how, you know, our locals, our own, you know, they are honored overseas, you know, they're highly respected, but then at home, they're doing nothing. So, you know, once we got back, we would have realized that, you know, Romel is a key piece that can assist in bringing back water to what it's supposed to be. We focused on the wells in the valley, and we would have gotten at least 4 or 5 wells up and running recently. So the production at the TSG plant, you know, moving from just having 1 train processing the water to now 2 trains. And we are continuing to work on wells. So the more wells we bring back live, you know, we'll be able to produce more water. The more water that TSG can produce, it helps the Seven Seas plant in Crocus Bay. You know, so the focus now is on production and, you know, making sure that as it relates to distribution, we fix as much leaks as possible. And as the Premier said earlier, we would have increased our capital spend for water to $9 million. And that will include the fixing of 2 major zones, one stretching from J.W. Proctor all the way past Long Pad. And then there's another section from the Jeremiah Gomes Highway into Bloom Point. So all of this is happening. You know, all of this will happen as we go along. I know that water is not where it's supposed to be, but it is much better than where we met it. And I can only see it growing from strength to strength with the team that we have at the Department of Water Services and the support from the Permanent Secretary, the engineers, and, you know, the cabinet. So it has been challenging, but it's getting better.
Right.
I also have the Ministry of Economic Development, and we would have just rolled out a program to give entrepreneurs, businesses, a $10,000 EC grant. And the applicants were so much that we ended up prioritizing and giving them an additional 10. An additional 10 businesses would have gotten $10,000 EC each. So it just shows where our focus is, and that is on people and making sure that we can, you know, build up our human capacity for Anguilla.
Yeah, you mentioned quite a bit, Honorable. You spoke about the collective effort, cabinet, the engineers, the employees working together to be able to deliver on water, essential service. You mentioned the $9 million as well for this year, and two important areas that you mentioned. In terms of the underground networking, do you intend to seek further funding as we go along to replace or sort that out as we move on?
So a major part of the capital budget, it does include replacing and relaying new pipe. That most of those pipe they're on the way.
Okay.
We would have already placed an order, and we are working in conjunction with Cardell over at Maiku with the construction of many roads. So wherever we are fixing roads right now, we are taking that opportunity to replace the pipe. In areas like in Sandy Hill, we just would have laid some brand new pipe for that road.
Okay.
So whatever road program is taking place, we will be following those programs to make sure that the pipe network, the water network in those areas are also up to par.
Okay, great. And you did mention Romel Hughes, and just to put on record, when you talk about the collective effort and having people included, just to put on record that Romel Hughes was a candidate in the last general election. Wasn't a candidate of the AUF. But the mere fact that his talent and his expertise and experience in water was recognized and appreciated, irrespective of the political landscape, so to speak, was brought in, in order to be able, and that's the kind of thing that I think we got to promote a little more of, going forward.
It's political maturity, right? You put the politics aside and you look at individuals for who they are and what they can do for the country.
Yes. I appreciate it, and so on. Well, thank you all for your presentations, but seeing that I have the leader of government business and the Minister of Finance, I will have a few more questions for her going forward. There's been some media postings that are going around and stuff, talking about layoffs and all sorts of stuff. I mean, you being the Minister of Labor, Immigration, and being the Premier of Anguilla, I listened to one of the clips. I don't listen to a whole lot of them, but it would seem as if though blame is being laid solely at your feet. And from my understanding, it would be as if though, you were the one who actually endorsed the laying off of those individuals. I mean, that doesn't, add up for what we are doing and the work that all of us are involved in, and you in particular. What?
Yeah. Let me first say, Neil, that anytime any employee in Anguilla is made redundant or is sent home, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling for me as Minister of Labor, and it's not a good feeling for the country, especially when they come in large numbers. As you know, I would have been Minister of Labor between 2015 and 2020. And during that time as well, there were some major redundancies that took place, layoffs, etc. And in particular, after Hurricane Irma. And so whenever those issues occur, it makes me feel very, I sympathize with every single employee that has to go through that. The redundancy process is laid out in our law, and it's not just the Labor Relations Act, but our labor laws from time immemorial. And I just want to put this on record so people can understand or appreciate. A company has the ability to reorganize its business. The government of Anguilla can't tell a company that they ought not to reorganize their business, that they ought not to become more efficient, that they ought not to be able to do certain things within its organization to continue to make money, to be viable, to continue to exist in Anguilla. That has to be balanced with ensuring that our people remain employed. We don't have social safety nets. We don't have unemployment benefit program, not as yet. And so we are keen in the Labor Department and the Labor Ministry to ensure that when things like this take place, it's done in accordance with law. So what does the labor law say? The labor law says that if a company wants to make persons redundant, there are a number of steps that they have to do. They have to contact the Labor Department. They have to inform the Labor Department of what the intent is. There are certain time frames. There are certain discussions that have to take place, communications with staff members, and they have to provide opportunities for persons, if they can be relocated into other areas within the organization, to be able to do so. Once those steps have been met, then the company has complied with the labor laws, and they have the ability to make people redundant. And that's what happened in this case. Some 26 persons who have been made redundant. The notice will have gone out on Friday of last week from this particular institution. And so, a number of those persons who have contacted me, I know them. Some of them are my friends, persons that I'm close to, I've known for many, many years. But it's difficult to tell an employer that they can't make persons redundant once they have complied with the labor laws. Now, what can be done? A government can, if information comes in front of them, ask questions in terms of how many people do you plan to lay off? What are the grounds for making them redundant? Have you complied with the labor laws? The timing of it, is this a reasonable timing for you to do so, etc. So for instance, if there's an intent to make people redundant on the heels of the festive season, actually prior to the festive season, just before the festive season, you would ask the question, well, why? Why before the festive season if it is that you may well need the numbers, etc. So there are a number of things that are done behind the scenes that are required by the law for the employer to be able to comply with, to do these things. Were those things done in this particular case? Yes, they were. Those discussions were had with the Labor Department, etc. Now, what I find interesting, Neil, is that the people of Anguilla would know that this is not the first time redundancies have occurred in Anguilla. And so it is difficult for me, in the face of seeing these people have their personal situations, they have families, they have lives, they have expenses, etc., for people to make politics out of this. This should not be a political football. It should never be a political football, because the reality is that there's a balancing act between employees remaining in a job and businesses being able to conduct that redundancy exercise in order to remain a viable company. But what I find interesting, Neil, and I had to do a little bit of background, get some background information just to verify. In 2023, in May of 2023, and that would have been under the previous APM administration, 32 employees were made redundant from that same business. 32. I will have said to you earlier that in this case, 26 were made redundant on Friday. So in May 2023, 32 employees were made redundant. In May of 2024, under the same previous APM administration, when that entity took over Paradise Cove, they made 5 employees redundant. And in December of 2024, again under the previous administration, they made 2 employees redundant. So that's a total of 39 persons that would have been made redundant between May of 2023 and December of 2024 under the previous administration. Now, why do I raise it? I raise it to say that we ought not to be hypocrites I raise it to say that we ought not to play politics with people's lives. These are serious issues, and I would imagine that in the same way in which allegations or claims are being made that I, as the Minister of Labor, would have sanctioned or approved these terminations.
Well, the blessing
with my blessing, that these terminations occur with my blessing, then so too, under the previous APM administration, these 39 persons were laid off with the blessing of the then Minister of Labor. But as I mentioned, I want to clarify, it's not blessing. Once the labor laws are followed, then the employers are able to do what they are seeking to do.
Right.
And we can't stop persons from being made redundant once the law is complied with. So I just want the people of Anguilla to understand that this is not a political issue. People's lives are involved in this. It is a serious matter. It is a matter that I, as Labor Minister, am concerned about, not just at any particular business, but whenever it takes place. Because we want to ensure that our people are employed, but at the same time, we want to ensure that our businesses can do the job, because they have other persons that remain employed that they need to continue to take care of. They need to earn a profit. We want them to remain viable, etc. So I just want to encourage people to look out for each other. And I have I've indicated to the Labor Department that I would want to ensure that these persons are able to come into the office to register their names for the labor registry, so that when there are job opportunities, or if it is that the Labor Department is aware of job opportunities where they can take up other positions, that they will be first in line to do so. And so I encourage not just those 26 persons, but any person who is currently not employed, visit the labor office, leave your information. If you have a resume, leave your resume, because it is important that when jobs come up for advertisement, that we can match people with positions and say to employers, look, this person is looking for a job, this person is an Anguillan or resident of Anguilla, and we want you to interview this person, because that's part of the process. So that's all I have to say on that matter.
Well, I'm glad that you clarified that, because the program is just the facts. So when you mentioned May in 2023 and May 2024 and December,
those are facts. Those are
actual facts that are there. And again, playing political football with the lives and the livelihoods of individuals. I mean, really and truly, that's been immature. Because I'm sure that, as you mentioned, that wouldn't have been laid to the feet of the former Minister of Labor as such, right. And as you rightfully explained, But so the people must understand this, and must be able to sift through these things, and really and truly don't listen to one side, but please listen to just the facts. The other thing, Premier, you would have gone off to a meeting, I think it was last week.
Last week.
OECS meeting. It was sort of impromptu, to getting folks there, addressing the whole geopolitical. Anguilla may be a dot on the map, but that does not exclude us from what is happening around us. We are here. And what could you say to our listening and viewing audience concerning that particular meeting that you went to?
Yeah, thank you for that, Neil. The meeting I attended last week was an OECS meeting, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. And many persons may be aware that they were seeing announcements being made by a number of other countries, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, Dominica, etc., that they have entered into an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with the U.S. government to accept deportees. It is a very difficult time, I think, geopolitically. And if we're all paying attention to what's happening every day, there's something new when you wake up in the morning. And this morning, there's something new. We have the EU involved now on a different scale in terms of other things. But the OECS meeting was intended as members of the OECS for us to meet and to discuss how we address collectively the issues that are taking place in the Caribbean region. And one of the things I would have said to the membership during that meeting was that, notwithstanding the fact that Anguilla is a British overseas territory, we would have been present not just because we were members of the OECS, not just because we stand in solidarity with the other independent countries, but also because what happens in the Caribbean impacts all of us. And that's important because I want to say that not just what's happening now, but what happens on the global scale, people may not realize or appreciate that those decisions and those issues that take place either directly or indirectly impacts us here in Anguilla. I'll give an example. The cost of shipping, if there are tariffs, and if there are tariffs imposed on ships coming to Anguilla, we pay the higher cost of shipping. If there are tariffs imposed and the cost of goods in the U.S., where we import the majority of our goods, causes increase in cost of goods in the U.S., we will have increase in cost of goods here in Anguilla as well. So it's very important that we pay attention to what's happening on the broader scale so that we can understand that Anguilla is not immune to things as they take place. So I hear from time to time comments being made from those persons who would be anti the Anguilla United Front government, etc., trying to distort facts. It reminds me of the situation back in 2010 during that campaign cycle when the Anguilla United movement would have said to the people of Anguilla that there was no economic downturn, that everything that was happening in Anguilla was as a result of the actions of the then administration. You were there, so you would remember. And you were a member of the government at that time, right? And the reality is that immediately after the elections, you heard the same AUM government talk about the issues that were taking place as a result of the economic downturn, right? So the reality is that we understand that while opposition is there, they have a job to do. They may think their job is to oppose, but their job is not to misrepresent, to lie, and to be deceitful to the people of Anguilla. And that's why programs just like this, with just the facts, are intended to bring the facts to the people of Anguilla so that people can understand that while it is that there are certain issues that impact us, there are a lot of issues outside of our control that also affects what happens in this country. And that meeting last week was a prime example of that. So the next step for the members of the OECS is to enter into agreements with the United States in terms of any number of factors. How many people are going to come into the country, where they're coming from, how long are they going to be staying, where are they going to be living. So many factors have to be discussed. And these are serious issues because it now means that our brothers and sisters, our member countries now have to engage in these serious discussions in terms of accepting deportees as a result of the requests made by the United States government. And so I just want to put it on record. I think that I want to encourage persons to continue to listen to the facts as they're presented, to understand that misrepresentations that are being put out there by members that may not support this government, people that don't support this government, that we have to...
You can say opposition.
We have to pay attention. We have to dissect what it is that they're seeking to do, and we have to understand that there's a reason why they are in opposition and why we are in government, because that same approach, the same lies and misrepresentations were rejected at the polls. And so if they continue, they haven't learned anything, right? They haven't learned that that's not an acceptable approach. And so if it is that they continue along that path, then the outcome in the next general election will be clear, because they have not learned that that is not what the people of Anguilla want to see for the development of this country.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Premier, for that explanation. And it has already been circulated. There is a move afoot to try and silence or to curb this program. This is just the first one where all of us are sitting here.
It's just
So I can just imagine in other programs when, you know, it's a minister and myself, or, you know, two ministers and myself, when we are presenting just the facts,
Right.
you know, so that we move forward. But again, let me thank you all for coming for the presentations. I want to thank the listening and the viewing audiences for their participation. As I mentioned earlier on, we will try and have this every week so that we can inform the people. We'll have our panel here, not all at once, but so that we can go deeper into what is happening in the various ministries and so on and so forth. And Premier, you are going to be back on a number of occasions to inform the people, because you are the leader of government business, so that we can clarify some of the stuff that is taking place out there. And I want to also remind our viewing and listening audience again what I said earlier on, that we are here in this position because of the people. We are the people's representatives, and it was through the ballot box, and as a result we are politicians. So the political aspect of it will also be explained in terms of going forward. Yes, we are administrators now, but we are also politicians, you know. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for viewing and listening, and see you all next week, God's willing.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.